Yesterday, a Catholic school just like mine was transformed from a sanctuary into a scene of violence. 2 children killed, 17 others wounded, families shattered, and teachers, people like me, were left with an unbearable task of explaining the unexplainable. As a teacher, I've practiced fire drills, active shooter drills, lockdown drills, and everything in between. But when those drills become reality, it's a different world. You're never prepared. In Catholic schools, we don't just teach. We raise children alongside their parents. We watch them grow from kindergartners who have shaky handwriting to 8th graders, shaky confidence. So when I hear 2 children killed, I don't hear statistics. I see a child who always wanted to lead prayer. I see a jacket that's still in the coat hook today. And I imagine the teachers, my colleagues, my fellow lovers of education and of Jesus, or any lover of anybody, just teachers in my vocation, standing in front of terrified students trying to calm them when inside they're anything but. Because let me tell you, teachers are experts at faking it. We fake calm. It's practically our survival skill. But no amount of calm stops bullets. This isn't new. This isn't rare. In 2025 alone, we've already had 140 school shootings. That means the United States has more school shootings this year than school days. Think about that. There's a pattern now. The breaking news, the candlelight vigils, the political debates, and then the silence until the next one. And every teacher I know feels like we're stuck in an endless loop, rehearsing for the next tragedy while praying it won't be us. And it won't be for our kids, our school, or our community. Lockdown drills have replaced snow days as the most memorable school ritual. And trust me, kids notice. They joke about it sometimes because joking is easier than admitting they're scared. But they know. What makes this shooting different is where it happened. It was during Mass. Mass is supposed to be a refuge for Catholic kids. It's where we whisper prayers, fumble with hymnals, and sometimes zone out while staring at stained glass. But yesterday, the sanctuary became a battlefield. As a teacher of faith, I wrestle with this. How do I tell my students that God is our protector, even when the church walls couldn't protect them? This isn't a new question in history. Churches have been bombed, mosques attacked, synagogues desecrated, but it still feels like betrayal. That violence can enter that very place all faiths call holy. History teaches us that sacred spaces are never immune from hate. In 1963, 4 little girls died in the bombing on the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama. In 2019, worshipers in Christ Church in New Zealand were gunned down during Friday prayers. Synagogues across Europe have carried scars of violence for centuries. The attackers always share something in common. They choose the sacred because it magnifies the horror. It's not just about killing people, it's about killing faith, killing trust, killing hope. Because when you're in those places, you have hope. You put aside your fear, your anxiety, your trepidation, and you give it up. You give it up to your God. You give up anxiety, fear, depression, and you have hope, even if it's for that small moment. You have trust that you're in a safe place. But history always shows us something else, resilience. Those churches rebuilt, those mosques, but again, the synagogues still hold prayers. And the Catholic community in Minneapolis will rise. That's what we do. But resilience shouldn't mean we get used to burying children. The shooter left behind a manifesto online, disturbing posts, videos, warning signs, and yet they went unseen or at least unacted upon. This is our new reality. Kids' digital footprints often reveal more than their report cards do. but we live in a world where we correct grammar online faster than we stop threats. Teachers are asked to notice every change in behavior, a kid who suddenly isolates, a violent drawing in a notebook. But the internet gives hate a megaphone, louder than any teacher's voice, and we're outmatched. Already, some are trying to weaponize the shooter's identity to push an agenda. As a follower of Christ, let me say this clearly, scapegoating communities for actions of one person is not justice, it's just sin. Truth is, America doesn't have a scapegoat problem, it has a gun and mental health problem. And pretending otherwise means we'll be sitting here again in a month. I hope. Not sooner. Talking about another school, another set of names, another set of funerals. Today, like every teacher, I looked into the eyes of my students and saw fear. The unspoken question, could it happen here? Could it happen here? And I didn't teach this year. I'm not teaching right now. But I have. I taught at a Catholic school for years. And one year, we had a live shooter across the street from our school. The police were there. State police were there. Everybody was there. And we were locked down. We were up, and our windows looked directly at where the shooter was locked in. And we were stuck there for hours. And my kids were in the corner praying. They were afraid. They were scared. And I'm former military. I'm a dad of many. I've been through a lot of stressful, angry, horrifying ordeals. I've seen stupid in this world. But that day I had real fear. I had real fear because unlike when I was overseas, or unlike when I'm at home, I had no control or perceived control of the situation. I didn't have a weapon. All I had was prayer and the thought that these kids are what I'm here for. I had a student later on that day, small little thing, great kid. She was in my class. And that night we had an assembly, and the principal was asking students how they were, how they did during it. Did they have any questions? Were they scared? And she stood up and said, I wasn't scared because Mr. M, me, and Mr. Charlie, my dog, they wouldn't let anything bad happen to us because he was in the Army and he cares about us. And that hit me hard. It hit me hard because I was terrified. I have this little girl, 6th grader, small, innocent, special kid. Charlotte, beautiful kid. She was telling everybody she wasn't worried because I was there to protect her. But that isn't fair. It isn't true. I was terrified just like them. I would have protected them. That's just what I do, and that's who most teachers are. We protect our students from the stupid of the world. But she made it sound like I was G.I. Joe and I was going to stop the bad guy. I don't know if I could have stopped him. I would have tried, but I don't know if I could have stopped him. But she had faith in me. But that's not something a 6th grade girl should have to say or even think about. She thought in those hours in that classroom about what was going to happen when the bad guy came in. She thought of the worst case scenario and planned it out and knew what was going to happen. That's not okay. It's not okay for anyone that is not in a war zone, anyone who is not actively in a place where people are fighting life and death, to have to think that way. Minnesota, Chicago, Boston, New York, LA. These places are not war zones. They're cities where kids live, where parents try to survive, where parents wake up every day doing their best to give their kids what they need. And we are failing them. Prayer is important. The whole thoughts and prayer thing. It's important if you mean it. But we don't. Most of us don't. We talk about we don't want gun control because of our Second Amendment. You know, I'm all for amendments. I'm all for freedom. We have a mental health problem that mixes with guns. And those two together, children die. And I'm tired of children dying anywhere in the world. I'm really tired of children dying in places where they're told they're safe and God is there with them and He will protect them and He will comfort them and He will take away their cares. I'm tired of it. We have a mental health cocktail mixed with .226 ammunition. We have rifles, shotguns, and handguns that are just available. Now, the handgun, the shotgun, it's pretty easy to get. And depending on what kind of rifle you used, which I'm assuming it's an AR-15, they're a little harder to get. I don't understand why we can't. My big stress, my big takeaway, my big whatever, is we are teaching our kids to be afraid of school, church, of malls, of everything else. We're also telling everyone that we care about your mental health, but we don't want to treat it the right way. Instead of treating a problem, we acknowledge the problem. We try to make you feel comfortable with the problem. And then we, let you go. Am I saying the shooter yesterday in Minnesota was validated in everything they were doing? No. But not just them. Other shooters in the past have had people in their lives who have allowed them to do what they needed to do without checking in on them, seeing where they were at in their life mentally. This person was in their early 20s. Their parents, their mother at least, was involved in their life. They went to this school. They grew up in this community. And no one noticed a notebook full of hate. Weapons, pistol, rifle, shotgun in their possession. No one noticed their online footprint getting darker and darker by the minute. No one noticed anything? Or did they? Did they bring it up and did it get squashed because, they're just trying to live their truth and they're not ready. They're not going to be violent. They're just expressing themselves. Expressing yourselves in that age group, in that mentality, is difficult to understand. I've struggled with mental health. I've struggled with anxiety. I've struggled with depression. I've struggled with all of that. And people in my life noticed it. People in my life who cared about me noticed it and brought it to my attention. And I went and got help, and I'm getting help. And though I still struggle with it, I'm on a path to right the ship. But I don't have people in my life who validate it. I don't have people in my life who make me feel like, oh, it's okay. They're concerned about me. They care about me. That day, when I was going through that with my students. I wasn't going through what the people in Minnesota or Sandy Hook or Texans, the one in Texas. There's been so many. Columbine, all of these different schools. I wasn't going through what they went through. But you know what? I still felt fear. And I still felt like my job was to keep my kids alive. And I felt like if they were scared, I failed them. I led my kids in prayer. I'm not Catholic, but I'm Christian. A little different, I guess. I'm Protestant. But I taught at that school long enough. I know prayers, right? Their prayers. I know how to do it their way. That makes them feel comfortable. And I led them in prayer. I wasn't praying about learning and kindness. I was praying for safety, physical, mental, spiritual safety. And I taught them about history and geography. I taught them about science. I taught them about world wars and kings and queens. But that day, and a few days later, it wasn't about that. It was about feeling okay where they were, knowing a bad guy was outside just 24 hours, 12 hours, 10 minutes earlier, and what to do with it next. Who do I blame for this? That's what we always do, right? We blame somebody because it makes us feel better. The shooter. The shooter's to blame for most of this. The parents of the shooter, I blame them too a little, probably a lot. I blame society. I blame the news. I blame the internet. I blame everybody. Everybody who was in this person's life who didn't notice or noticed but didn't think it was a big deal or validated their anger, their hate, or made them feel like it was okay to hate. I don't like a lot of things. I don't hate it. I'm not going to go and shoot something up because I don't like how somebody says something. I'm not going to go and be violent against somebody who doesn't agree with me politically or spiritually or morally. That's not my job. That's not my life goal. I'm not here to judge with a gun or a baseball bat or a knife. Can we take away all the guns? Probably not. We're not going to. People are going to hide guns. That's what they do. That's what we're going to always do. Should we stop anybody with a mental disorder from having a gun ever? No, that's not going to work either, because then every soldier who's ever deployed can never own a gun and has to be kicked out of the military because they can't own a gun because they'll have PTSD or something else. But there's got to be something different, because whatever the hell we're doing, we're not doing it well. We're not. I'm tired of one side saying it's all mental health. I'm tired of the other side saying it's all guns. It's neither. It's all. It's both. As a teacher now, I'm supposed to know how to set up all my lesson plans for the week, for the month, for the year. I'm supposed to understand all the testing, all the in-services, all the different things my students have for IEPs, 504s, and everything in between. At the same time, I'm supposed to know the mental health of every student I have. I don't know how we're supposed to do it. If parents can't understand their children's mental health and they have one of them, how is a teacher supposed to do it with 30 or 40 students? How are we supposed to know what's going on at home if we're not told? Or how are we supposed to remember when there's 30 or 40 of them or more? My last year of teaching, I was at a school where I had about 100 students. And that's the point, guys. If you don't know what's going on with your kids, we're not going to know either. We might know a little something different than what you know, but you're there every day. And in the video, I'm going to put up a few numbers, few information if you need it. But I'm going to sound cynical for a moment. Last year in England, they have a mental health hotline. England has less population than we do. Just put it out there. They had 35 million calls for their suicide hotline. Okay, mental health hotline. Our mental health hotline in America has been up for 3 years. 3 years. In 3 years, it's received 16 million calls in 3 years. So that's about 5.5 million a year. Of all of those, only 1.4 million was someone in active crisis, as they called it. Active crisis means they have a gun or they have a weapon or they have means of hurting themselves or killing themselves at that moment. I don't think we respect that number. I don't think we care about that number. I think we put it up at the end of TV shows. I think we put warnings in front of news broadcasts. I think we do all of this, but we don't mean it. I think if people like the Sandy Hook shooter and the Columbine guys and a few others, if the news did it right, these other shooters wouldn't think they're cool and write manifestos acknowledging how awesome they are. Because it's not awesome. We have a mental health problem. And we don't treat it. We don't acknowledge it the way we should. We don't allow people to get help in a quick manner. There are no mental health therapists in the VA system, in the Veterans Administration system. There's not a lot of therapists in the world right now, in our world. And the ones that are there don't take your insurance. Whatever you have, they probably don't take it. Okay. And we've shut down all the facilities that used to put people in care in-house. We've shut them all down. They're all outpatient now. Instead of dealing with this problem and locking them away, or whatever we're going to say, we instead send them home with a lot of drugs that we're pretty sure will work and tell them to call in 2 to 4 weeks. We don't deal with a problem anymore. We push it aside because it's too expensive. How expensive is an 8 and 10-year-old's life worth? How much money? How much money is 140 school shootings a year worth? How much money is a life worth? We don't spend money on mental health. We don't spend money on physical health. We spend money developing AI to help us with video games. We develop AI to help us with YouTube videos. We develop AI to help us with, writing papers to get into college. We've developed guns that can shoot things, everything you can think of, and we make them easily accessible if you have any smarts on how to get around the system that we set up. There are gun laws in place. There are rules in place. But if you want a gun, you'll get a gun. Bad guys always get guns, legally or illegally. They'll always get a gun. We can't take away the guns. We can deter it. We can say, hey, you have to pass a mental health check. We can do lots of things. But the problem isn't just the guns. It's the people around the people with the guns. If you know somebody has multiple weapons and you know they're struggling with their mental health, talk to somebody, tell somebody, talk to them. We always have this, if you see someone too drunk to drive, take their keys. If you see someone too mentally unstable to be safe, take their guns until they're better. If you see someone too drunk, you tell them, don't do this. Don't text and drive. Don't drink and drive. Don't smoke weed and drive. If you're not mentally stable, you shouldn't have a gun. It's just it. You shouldn't until you're better. There are ways to find out that. Now, some people are going to fake it. It's just the world we live in. But if we can cut this down, if we can stop the stupidity, it is a mental health problem. It's a horrible cocktail of mental health, parents, society who acknowledge the mental health but do nothing to fix the mental health, and AK-47s, M4s, AR-15s, shotguns, Glocks, knives, bats, weapons. Mixing a weapon with mental health issues, no matter what the weapon is bad. And it's not going to stop until we figure out that we're tired of burying children, and children who are praying are the children. I don't care if you're black, white, I don't care if you're Muslim, Jewish, I don't care if you're Catholic, Protestant, I don't care if you're Hindu. When you're in a place of worship, a place of sanctuary, that should be the one place in the world where you feel safe. In Afghanistan, we were told the only places we weren't really allowed to shoot at, mosques, churches, places of worship. And that's in a war zone. But in America, a non-war zone, schools, churches, mosques, synagogues, fair game. And that's got to stop. Thank you. God bless. People in Minnesota, sorry. We as a society have failed you, and we've failed each other for too long, and something's got to stop.